Good evening, everyone. In today's session of consumer behavior, I will explain the various stages, or you can also call it as various elements of perception. So, stages of perception simply means that as a human being, how we accept a stimuli, how we react, how we organize them, how we select the stimuli, how we organize them, how we interpret means finding out meaning of those stimuli and how we retain those stimuli. So that is the proper, we can say proper stages or the proper process of accept selecting, organizing, interpreting, and then retention of the stimuli. So this is a process which takes place in each and everyone's mind, but it actually depends upon the perception of a person. What are the stimuli that we accept? The stimuli accepted by one person may not be selected by another person. So that I am going to explain in today's session. Okay, so let's begin the session. So first of all, as individuals, we receive sensation from various types of stimuli which we come across from when we interact with people or when we go outside. Means we come across various types of stimuli through our external environment. So those external environment factors, or when we go out, when we come across different type of people, we also get sensation from different types of stimuli. So as human beings, how we adapt those stimuli, to what extent we adapt, and in what intensity we adapt those stimuli is explained in the stages of perception. Means, first of all, how we accept the stimuli, to what extent we accept the stimuli based on our intensity of our sensory input. Means, for example, some people are very attracted to beautiful things, so they will give more priority to things which looks very different, which looks very attractive. Some people have very strong sense of smell or sense of taste, so that is our intensity of sensory inputs. So based on our intensity of sensory inputs, based on the level of adaptation of different stimuli, these are the things that actually creates the stages of perception. Okay, so for example, you as a person, when you go out, you come across various number of stimuli, but most of the stimuli are rejected. We are not even aware about those stimuli. We do not pay any kind of attention to those, and probably we will simply not remember those stimuli also. So those stimuli do not influence us in any way. So we sometimes give priority to those stimuli, or we give attention to those stimuli which have certain kind of importance in our life. So how we select the stimuli, how we organize them, how we interpret them, and what are the stimuli that we finally retain. So that is the stage of perception. So these are the various phases or stages of perception. First one is selection. Like I said, we come across variety of stimuli, various number of stimuli, but what are the stimuli that we actually accept depends upon our point of view, our priority, our personality, each means how we process our mind. So that selects the stimuli, and then we organize it in a proper manner so that it will be very easy for us to interpret those stimuli that we have selected and organized. So after organizing the stimuli, we will try to interpret, we will try to understand those stimuli. And after understanding, then we will retain, we'll keep those stimuli in our mind. Okay, so this is the stages of perception. So like I said, the first stage is perceptual selection. It simply means, first of all, let me explain what is stimuli or stimulus. Any physical, visual, or verbal communication to customers is called stimulus. Means any kind of communication, whether done in a physical way, for visual manner or verbal manner, is considered to be stimulus. Means, for example, you wanted to purchase a car. When you actually go for a test drive, that is the physical communication with the with the product and the customer. Visual means when you look into the design of the car, the color, the style of the car, that is the visual communication. Verbal means the explanation given by the manager or the salesperson related to different features of the car, that is called verbal communication. Or these type of communication, visual and verbal communication, can be also made through different types of promotions and advertisements. So any kind of communication, physical, visual or verbal, made to the customers by the companies, by the advertising companies, or the advertisement means through advertisement or promotion, is considered to be stimulus. Now these stimulus are designed in such a way that it will influence the consumer's perception, and then it will finally convince them to make a purchase decision. For example, you as a person think that products created in India are not do not have that kind of quality, because we lack behind we lack in terms of technology. We do not have that kind of strength to take or use high level kind of technology. So you as a consumer prefer other brands which belong to big countries, developed countries, which are working in the same sector for many years. So that was your perception, that certain products created by the Indian companies may not be up to the mark. So that was your perception. So a Indian company want to change this perception by showing that they are no less than any foreign companies, whether it is in terms of technology, after sales service, or the quality of the product. They will try to encourage you to purchase a product which belongs to your country. You will help in the economy of the country. You will help in creation of employment, means if the company survives, it will give employment to many people. So they will design the stimuli in such a way that it will convince you to change your perception. So after that, you will finally go and purchase that product, because previously you used to think that Indian companies cannot create good quality products. But after coming across those kind of stimuli created by the companies, you will be convinced that your perception will be changed, that no, Indian companies can also do well. Our products, our companies are also using high-end technology, better quality. They are providing better quality products. So your perception will be influenced, and you will purchase the product finally. So these stimuli are designed in such a way so that the customers will be influenced. Their perception towards the product, their perception towards the brand will change, and finally they will purchase a product. But in reality, what happens? We receive a very small fraction of the stimuli to which we are exposed. Means obviously a product, a company is never going to describe you all their loopholes, or they are not going to tell you what are the problems that they have in the product. And even if they show the positive side, we accept that kind of stimuli which is actually important for us. For example, whenever you're purchasing a product, price is extremely important for you, not the quality, not the durability, price. So in any kind of stimuli to which you come across, you will give priority to those stimuli which explains about price, which explains about discount, which explains about offers. So you will accept those stimuli, reject the other thing. So that's why we receive a very small fraction of the stimuli to which we are actually exposed. So customer register thought, sight, smell, taste and feeling. So, for example, when you go to a shopping mall or a departmental store, you come across different types of products, different varieties of product. For example, even take example of biscuit. You will find 30 to 40 types of biscuit belonging to different companies, having different flavors, different prices, different packaging. And like that, each and every, whether it is biscuit, whether it is oil, whether it is grocery, you will find variety of products with different types of brands, with different features, with different flavors. When you will enter into a departmental store, a person, it is very easy for a person to get confused what to buy, what not to buy. But when a person knows what are the things which he or she is supposed to purchase, they will simply go to that section, purchase the items which are needed, and they will simply ignore all the other stimuli, all the other items, because that person do not need those items. So in our mind, when we are completely clear what we want, what we do not, we accept stimuli in that manner only. Those stimuli which is important for us, which is required by us, we will pay attention to those only. And other stimuli which are not necessary for us, we will simply reject those stimuli. So that is the way we actually select a stimuli. So the selection of the stimuli depends upon three major factors: the nature of stimulus itself, consumers' previous experience as it affects expectation, and their motives. So it simply means that the three factors which influence the perception, or which influence the selection of stimuli, actually are the nature of the stimulus, the expectation of the consumer, and the motive of the consumer. So these are the three factors which actually affect. So the nature of stimulus itself means, take example of product. How would you describe a product? By its packaging, by its looks, by its features, qualities, specifications, and all that. Those are the things which create a stimulus by itself. So as a consumer, it depends upon the nature of the stimulus whether you will select those stimulus or not. For example, a simple packet, nothing, no colors, no different types of colors, simply the name, just little bit of specification may not get your attention. But a colorful packaging, beautiful design, some of the specifications about the product or something, that will grab your attention. So the stimulus itself also plays a major role, whether it is going to be selected or whether it is going to be rejected, because appearance is very important. Or whether we hear something, whether we look at something, whether we feel the material of a particular product. So those are the things, they uh, their nature, their quality actually depends whether we are going to select them or we are going to reject them. Simple. The next one, consumers' previous experience as it affects the expectations. For example, you have purchased a particular shampoo. Take example of a shampoo belonging to a particular brand, and you had a very bad experience. Will you purchase that product again? No. You will not purchase the product. You will recommend your friends and family members the same, that not to purchase those products. It is not good in quality. It causes different types of side effect, different types of problem. So that your previous experience actually affects your expectation. That is the important element here. So if you have used a product, you are very satisfied with the product, you had good experience with the product, you will have greater expectations from the product. And if you are not happy with the product, whether how it looks, whether the quality or something, you had bad experience, or you were not satisfied with the product, your expectations will be very low. So when expectations are very low from a particular product or a particular brand, those kind of stimuli will not get any attention from you. You will simply reject those stimuli. So if your previous experience is good, your expectation is higher, the company is coming up with a different product, definitely it will grab your attention and you will select those stimuli related to the particular product. The next one is their motive at that time. For example, what is the basic motive of purchasing a product? That is very important, because we purchase product depending on our needs and motives. For example, in this situation, a smartphone is extremely necessary for all the students so that they can attend different their classes, so that they can study. So for a student, smartphone at this time is very important. And what is the basic feature of the smartphone which is important from a student? That is money, because they have to purchase the phone with a limited amount of budget. So they will they will pay attention to those offers, those advertisements showing that this brand is giving this much amount of discount, festival sale, this and that. So they will pay attention to that product only, and what are the different kinds of offer they are receiving for that product. They will not pay attention to any other product. So our motive also helps in selection of the stimuli. On the basis of our needs, we either select a stimuli or we reject a stimuli. So that is the actual way of selection of a stimuli, based on the nature of the stimuli itself, based on the customer's expectation and previous experience, and then based on the customer's motive. So these are the three important factors which influence the selection and rejection of a stimuli. Okay. So after perception selection, uh, means in perceptual selection, there is another element that is called selective perception. Means I have explained that what are the factors which influence the decision of selecting a stimuli or rejecting. But what are the four important concepts which are related to selection? Means how, to what extent, to what degree we accept or reject the reject the stimuli. So the customer selection of a stimuli from the environment is based on interaction of expectation motive with the stimulus in itself. So like I said, that if the stimulus is not attractive, we do not pay attention. If we had bad experience, we do not pay attention. If we don't have motive of purchasing that product, we do not pay attention. But actually our selection of all the stimuli is the result of the interaction between expectation, motive and the stimulus itself. So interaction and with these three factors which actually lead us to selection of certain stimuli, rejection, and these are the two things, either we select or we reject, and that is a proper process also, like selective exposure, selective attention, perceptual defense and perceptual blocking. So selective exposure simply means that what are those stimuli to which we would prefer to being or prefer of being exposed to those. So selective exposure simply means that many people who are too sensitive, they try to avoid those kind of things which are very, we can say, threatening type, which are very cruel or brutal. So people try to avoid such kind of stimuli. They will expose themselves to certain kinds of stimuli to which they feel related to which they feel they can get some information from it. So they try to select some of the stimuli which they can relate to, which they can interact with. So that is called selective exposure. Then comes selective attention. So after being exposed to selective stimuli, they pay attention depending upon their requirement. Like I said, a student would pay attention to different types of offer given by different websites or different brands uh, regarding a smartphone. The same person won't pay any attention to any offers given on other products, whether it is washing machine or refrigerator, because the person does not need it. So selective attention means based on our requirement, we select the stimuli and then we pay attention to it. Then comes perceptual defense. Defense, like I said, when we do not want to get exposed to certain things which will like uh, won't it does not relate to us, which will affect us in a negative way. So we try to defend ourselves, and one way of defense is take means paying attention to many stimuli, many sensory inputs, so that so that you will not pay any attention to the stimuli which is affecting you negatively. So if a person would prefer to defend itself from certain type of stimuli, the same person will try to pay attention to all the stimuli or the other stimuli, all the sensory inputs will keep on operating. The sensory organs will accept as many inputs as he or she as they can. Then ultimately that same stimuli with so many types of stimuli, so many types of sensory inputs, that stimuli will be lost somewhere. So the person won't pay any attention. So that is a defensive mechanism created by a human being, that I don't want to pay attention to this, so I will pay attention to each and everything, but not that kind of thing. So ultimately, I'll keep on forgetting about the particular stimuli. Next one is perceptual blocking, means intentionally blocking a certain kind of stimuli. For example, you know that in between a movie or a TV series, there will be many types of ads. So either you skip the ads or you switch on another channel. You do not want to pay any attention to advertisement. So you simply to switch to another channel. And there are certain products which were available in past, which helps you to skip all those advertisements. So that is called blocking. We do not want to pay any attention to any stimuli. So that is called complete blocking. We are not defensive. We are not differentiating between stimuli. We are just blocking each and every type of stimuli, because we either do not have time to pay attention, either we do not think those stimuli are important for us. So we simply block all the stimuli from paying attention. Okay, so that is the we can say that is the four important concept relating to perception, means how we select a particular stimuli, to what extent we pay attention, how we uh, become very defensive to certain type of stimuli, how we completely block certain kind of stimuli. So this is the important concepts. The next point is perceptual organization. Like I said, after selection we have to organize. So as a human being, we come across various number of stimuli, and we select some of the stimuli, either those stimuli which are attractive, which are interesting, which will grab our attention, or which are actually important for us. So the environment separate and discrete sensation, rather they tend to organize them into groups and perceive and them as unified wholes. Means for example, here it says that, so organization simply here means that we come across different types of stimuli. But as human beings, we have the tendency of grouping those stimuli, even if they are separate and they are very discrete from each other. We try to categorize them. For example, some people arrange their clothes according to the color. So that is one type of organization. So in that way, we organize the stimuli. For example, you want to purchase some electronic items or durable goods, or even if you want to purchase some dresses for yourself. So you will organize that in a particular category, whether it is brands related sorry brands related brands selling those items, prices of those items, different varieties of products they are offering. So you will organize them into groups, so that it will be very easy for you to understand. Because when different type of items are categorized into different categories, it will help us to simplify it will help to simplify the categorization, and it will help us to understand which stimuli belongs to which category. And when we consider a whole picture, it becomes very easy for us to understand each and every stimuli. See, like I said, we come across various types of stimuli, and many of them are related yet separate to each other. So when we categorize them, when we organize them into separate groups and perceive them as a whole, a meaningful picture is created. And that meaningful picture is very simplified in nature, which helps the human being to understand the real meaning of the stimuli. Like I said, proper organization of stimuli helps us to interpret those stimuli in the right manner. So that is called perceptual organization. Grouping stimuli in different categories, like we arrange cards, or like we even some people have the tendency of arranging their rupee means their currency notes in a particular order. the highest one like 2,500, 200. So they arrange in a particular manner so that it will be easy for them to while making any kind of payment. In the same way, we categorize and we organize all the stimuli, and that will help us to get a clearer picture. Okay, so the three of the most important basic principle of perceptual organization are figure and ground, grouping and closure. Means based on these three principles we group the stimuli. Okay, so the first one is figure and ground. Means for I give a particular example, a background and the main product needs to be very contrast with each other. If they are very similar, it will be very difficult for the viewer to distinguish between the background and the product. So that's why there must be some kind of contrast between the background and the figure. Clear? So that is the first principle. So if a company wants their product to be understood, to be accepted as a stimuli by a consumer, by a customer, they need to differentiate between the background and the figure. So the background, the ground or the background needs to be very mild. Focus need means too much of focus on the background is not necessary. So complete focus must be on the product, must be on the message they are sending, and it must be in contrast with the background, so that the higher the contrast, it will be very easy for the customer to distinguish between the actual stimuli and the background. Because many times we do not pay even any kind of attention to the background, we give attention to the stimuli. The stimuli needs to be in contrast with the background. It needs to be louder in terms of color. It needs to be very attractive in nature, so that we can distinguish that, we can get it can grab our attention that this looks something different, this might be something different, and then we try to accept that stimuli. And that is the way of proper organizing. This is the stimuli that we are trying to accept it, and the background that we are not going to give too much of importance. So that's why figure and ground are one of the basic principles of perceptual organization. Next one is grouping. So grouping here means we have to group products in different categories. We cannot group similar type of products in one category. We can group in terms of our feeling, or for example, uh, I'll give an example of a brand, or we can say, take example of tea. Whenever you see advertisements of tea, any kind of brand, what they reflect? They reflect that it refreshes the person who consumes the tea. It creates a good, loving environment, affectionate environment. So that kind of product is related to love, affection, feeling fresh or something. So that is called grouping. So when we attach a emotion with a particular stimuli, it is grouped into one category. For example of tea. Tea makes us feel better, makes us feel comfortable, it relaxes us, it refreshes us. We share it with our family members, with our friends. So that creates a very good environment for us. So we categorize that stimuli in the category of like love, affection, and all. That is called grouping. So whenever a company advertises a product, they try to fit in the stimuli into certain kind of emotion, so that people can easily relate to it. Okay. The next one is closure. Closure here simply means that as human beings, we would prefer to have complete message. Incomplete message, we accept it, but we make it complete in our own way. So as stimulus, it needs to be very complete, so that it can create a interaction, or it can help the viewer to understand the meaning of the stimuli. For example, giving a form to the consumers, and giving some of the places will be left empty so that consumers can fill it up. So according to their preferences, according to their choices, they fill up the places, fill up the blanks, so that their choices, their preferences can be properly understood by the companies. So that is called closure. We want complete information. Even if the information is incomplete, we accept it, and we complete the information based on our perception, based on our organization of stimuli. Okay, so these are the three basic principles. The way principles of organization of perception means how we how we organize different types of stimuli. Okay, so these are the two stages of perception. There are another two stages of perception which I am going to explain in the next session. Okay, so that's it for today. We will meet in the next session. Thank you.